Our platform takes a curious look at video games remade for the movie screen and vice versa. Though mostly works of art, mainly known for the big screen, we have a special section for this. An example of one of the games to become one of the most popular series ever launched 10 years ago, seeing a meteoric rise and ranking in serious profits. It was the 2013 hit The Last of Us by Sony and Naughty Dog in cooperation. Things didn't start off so rosy though. It started off hanging out in limbo for a long time, initially as a movie. With Maisie Williams in the leading role alongside producer Sam Raimi, the movie went on later to test new waters as HBO produced a TV series out of a video game for the first time, which went on to receive unlimited raves. The Last of Us first season follows along the same plot of the initial video game, with a tragic, earth-shaking beginning leading to a triumphant finish. The series featured 9 episodes. It has more recently been adapted to a PS5 version as The Last of Us Part 1. Of course, it's interesting the way they made the transition. In the screen version, the central focus is naturally on flashbacks into people's pasts and their personality traits, in a way that feels genuine. While they do use many of the same props featured in the game, the show is more about staying alive and thriving as opposed to the game, which is more violence and gore. Consequently, the series version really brings serious depth to the already magnificent backstory of the video game. Never has so much depth been brought to a cinematic version of a game. Vivid and dreamlike. Whether you're a gamer or you have been out of the gaming world for a long time, you're in for a treat. The Last of Us kicks off with a science authority figure on TV, ensuring the audience that, in reality, epidemic of end-of-times proportion is merely fungal and not contagious. How wrong he was. It fast forwards to the moment in 2003 on the verge of utter Armageddon. The first episode features protagonist Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, an Austrian contractor, alongside Tommy, played by Gabriel Luna, his brother. It becomes evident that the previously discussed cordyceps, which started out as a mere fungal disease, is about to scourge the earth. Community members attack each other and vehicles crash left and right. Despite the serious PTSD which torments him for the rest of Season 1, Joel manages to stay alive. Flash forward 20 years and the world has changed beyond recognition. Almost everyone on Earth is either a bloodthirsty mutant or has long since perished. Big cities are quarantined and kept in check by the Iron Fist of the army, which is fought against by the Fireflies, a secret opposition faction. Alongside Tess, played by Anna Torv, the death of necessary supplies has led Joel to working as a smuggler on the down low. The two of them seek out all their necessities to prepare for a trip out west in search of his brother. In the process, they come across something they hadn't bargained for, something much bigger. The underground faction that calls itself the Fireflies is holding a girl, Ellie, played by Bella Ramsey, hostage. Their leader is a woman named Marlene, played by Merle Dandridge, who is also used in this video game. This girl is not your ordinary girl, as the Fireflies suspect she might bear the cure, a chance for humanity to survive the pandemic. Consequently, Joel is persuaded to take her with him on his journey. Their trip out west reminds you of I Am Legend and other such survival thrillers, with a hypothetical imagined future world in which a small number of survivors try to make it on their own. The natural sequence of a series proved convenient for conducting the show in storybook-like fashion. Craig Mazin, creator of Chernobyl, and video game version co-creator Neil Druckmann owe some of their success to this format, which avoids the need to order each episode chronologically. Instead, there are separate storylines that span each season. One example is Episode 3. The episode features a secondary character, Bill, played by Nick Offerman. The episode shows what his life used to be like before and how it has now changed since the pandemic began. Murray Bartlett plays alongside him as the White Lotus. The result is a short cinematic story which blends into the rest of the show, while also capable of standing on its own. In Episode 5, a rebellion leader hardened by deceit and ordeals, Kathleen, Melanie Linsky, is introduced to the show. The character is unsettled and belligerent in a version of the country she never expected to see. After another couple episodes, this story is continued and greater depth is added to the rebellion's leader's background. We cannot meanwhile forget about the stars of the show, Joel and Ellie, who remain its central focus. After all, gamers have been rooting to see them on screen ever since the game experienced its success. Consequently, it would be a shame if Ramsey and Pascal missed the mark in their acting. Fortunately, the reverse is the case. Known for his central role in The Mandalorian, Pascal as Joel plays an imperfect man, performing as a spectacle to behold. He does not plunge into banal despair, but rather expresses internal struggle, egoism, along with an inspiring and convincing optimism. Such ordinary human traits are essential in getting the viewers to connect to the character. Ramsey creates the same intrigue with her vigor and tough spirit. I believe this is one of the many roles which she will gain broad acclaim for. Very important is the fact that although many fans have played the game before, and they know the way the plot ends, the two stars of The Last of Us convince us that they are reacting to each event spontaneously as it takes place. The similarity to the original video game is particularly close. In fact, for many, it won't be too different for when they played the actual game. Quite a few props and abundant imagery are taken straight out of the game. Indeed, Gustavo Santaolalla's Western-style music in the series itself first appeared in the game. A pleasant touch that the show introduced was the 3rd and 5th episodes, which the series would have been wise to build on. This is not matter of a flaw, but rather that they took an interesting direction with the episodes, and it would be nice to see where it could lead. The plot is reached a little too hastily by the end of the season. This has to do with the fact that Maisie was originally counting on having 10 episodes, yet one of them had to be cancelled. One has to wonder what went missing in the show as a result. This is nitpicking nonetheless, considering how delightful this bare and fascinating Armageddon-type show is. There is one thing that the show certainly didn't miss the mark on, at which cinematic versions of video games tend to fall short, and that is keeping loyal to the original story. They were wise not to just extract the biggest spectacles from the video game and becoming a cheesy eye roller. Rather than trying to remake a video game on a screen, they immerse people into the story of the video game across 9 different installments, in a harrowing, tragic pandemic threatening humanity itself, never knowing what to expect. It's at least interesting in the times that we are in to compare this fictional story to the reality we've had to endure since COVID-19 broke out in 2020.